This is UMass basketball.
I know this. I'm the most animated coach that you've probably ever seen on my team.
Thompson in the front court. Thompson will lay it in. And one. Hey, he's just being Frank.
That is right. It is time for another episode, the final of 2023 of Just Being Frank, presented by our good friends at the Massachusetts Collective, providing name, image, and likeness opportunities for men's and women's basketball players here in Amherst. I'm Jay Burnham, voice of the Minutemen, alongside head coach of the UMass men's basketball team, Coach Frank Martin. Coach, how's your tan? How's your response in coming back from that long trip to Hawaii?
Well, as you're aware, since you and I were both there, those first 3 days it was like overcast and like rainy, and so didn't really have a chance to lay out at all. And then once we played that AAU game at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we got a win, I was in a good mood. So as soon as I got left, I couldn't wait to leave the arena because it was finally a nice day for beach, that is. All the days were nice. They just weren't beach days.
Right.
And left the arena. I couldn't wait to get to the hotel. I went straight to the beach. And so I don't think the rays worked a whole lot. The top of my head got a little suntan, as you can see.
There you go. You got to protect that guy. We haven't spoken since on one of these since we had hosted the event at White Lion with Marcus Camby. I want to talk about that and the West Virginia game. Your team won 2 out of 3, almost 3 games out in Hawaii for the Diamond Head Classic. But I think what's interesting, and maybe folks don't realize, is how tight the time turnarounds are in those tournaments. It's saying, yeah, it's great to be in Hawaii, but really 95% of that for your staff and for your team is focused on, getting ready for those games.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I tell people all the time, these are great trips for everybody except the coaches and to a certain extent the players. The families love it, and everyone that's a part of it loves it for obvious reasons. It's why, but the preparation and the flow of emotions that you go from game to game to game in such a short window creates a pretty intense setting. It makes sleeping difficult. But it's all good. I mean, we sign up for it. It's I don't say that for anyone to ever think that we're trying to create like a feel sorry for me attitude. It's on the contrary. I enjoy those stressful days and those windows because you're competing and you get into this business because you want to compete and you like to be a part of competition. And but yeah, it's and then for the head coach, we get off the plane and I got to basically go right to the arena to go through a walkthrough and then leave the arena and go to a coaches versus cancer function and go entertain and so it keeps your days busy. So you get from A to B really fast.
Your team did have a chance to go to Pearl Harbor on the off day on Saturday. I want to talk about that in just a little bit. But first, give me kind of an overview as to you're entering the final non-conference game as we record this on Friday, the 29th, before the game against Siena. Your team has a chance to win 9 non-league games in back-to-back years. How do you feel about, how this non-conference slate has unfolded for this group?
Yeah, it's that old saying. I know in podcasts you can say like whatever you want, but I refuse to speak a certain way. I only get myself in trouble when I'm on a sideline. Other than that, I try to be fairly level-headed with the choice of words I use. But there's a lot of ifs and if this, then that, and you know how the saying goes. If
and buts, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But we've lost 3 games against three good teams. Towson's a good team, and it was at their home game, and we talked about it. They outplayed us. We really didn't have a chance. We fought, but we didn't have a chance to win that game. And then we've lost to two really good teams in Harvard and Georgia Tech, and in both games, we were just abysmal, not bad, abysmal from the foul line. And we haven't been a great free throw shooting team, but we've been good enough to win, and we get to the line. But in those two games, it was just like crazy, like free throw after free throw after free throw, miss. And in both games, you lose heartbreakers in regulation because, you can pinpoint a bunch of different things, but they were all free throw shooting. So we've got to go out and do what we've done consistently every game we've played this year. And that's play with a personality. Play with a consistent personality. This team's been pretty good that way. Every time we've taken the court, there's an aggression that we've played with defensively, an aggression we've played with offensively, a consistency of low turnovers, high assists, the ball getting in the paint. We got to make sure that we continue to do those things. And, as a coach, when you struggle going game to game is when your team plays differently every time they play. Mm-hmm. And whether you're winning or losing as a coach, that's a struggle. You sit around and you're like, what do we have to do to find consistency? And because consistency is what gives you hope that you can get better. It's not different personalities every time you take the court.
Yeah, I think, I'm assuming, you kind of mentioned it there. You look at it kind of like the fans do, where you're saying, hey, this team could be a one-loss team heading into conference play, had things broken a little bit differently, but we don't have to rehash those moments. I feel like if we go back to the game in Springfield for the Hall of Fame Classic against West Virginia, you had to deal with a lot entering that game, including, West Virginia having multiple guys being eligible for the first time to play for various reasons, including the ruling from the West Virginia judge that allowed their players to play that game. And I think of it as kind of the Robert Davis Jr. breakout game. He went 6 of 8 from 3-point range and really kind of pulled you guys back from the brink when things started to maybe get a little bit more in favor of West Virginia. What did we've been waiting for that moment for him in terms of finding his stroke from 3-point range. How have you seen him kind of develop that over the last 3-4 games?
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does well. And at this stage of his career, the challenge with most young players is that they want to do so much that they start dabbling into things they're not really good at, and it gets their brain kind of wacky a little bit. And that's across the board. Robert does that well. And so in games, he was playing too fast because he was trying to do certain things that he's not ready to do. And when your brain gets sped up, excuse me, it's hard. It's hard to then do the little things that you're good at well. He had gotten really good shots in almost every game. Ball just hadn't gone in for him for different reasons. And one of them is what I believe is he was just trying to do things too fast and trying to get himself into other things that he's not ready to quite do in games. And he started practicing better after Thanksgiving. He started, he got away from my ball's not going in to let me work at this so my next one goes in, which is a completely different mindset. And his ball's starting to go in. It's starting to go in practice again. Obviously in that game, when you make 6 threes in a game, that's not something everybody does. You have to be gifted in that department to be able to make 6 threes in a game, and much credit to him. Without those 6 threes, we obviously don't win the game, and but we needed it, and he provided it, and it was fun to watch. And hey, how much fun was this podcast that night at the White Lion with Marcus Camby and all the folks from the Mass Collective and fans, and just interacting with people, and and that was the night before the game, or two nights before the game.
Yeah, night before the West Virginia game.
Yeah, night before the game, and and as a coach, you do these things, and the night before a game, and it alleviates the stress of being at the house, staring at the ceiling, worried about that you prepare well enough. But then go in there and play the game. It was awesome. It was awesome. Great environment. I mean, our players still talk about the environment in Springfield that night. Yeah. It's Brett Nelson's son, Eli. He actually said, that's what college basketball is about, because of the environment. Because West Virginia brought fans, and we brought fans, and it was just fun.
St. Bonaventure brought fans, and Florida Atlantic brought fans. That was the game before you guys played. Yeah, it really seems like that should be a date we circle on the calendar as like, hey, this is a really cool event, and the type of talent that they've been able to get to come to Springfield for that event has been off the charts.
Yeah. Real thankful for the folks at the Hall of Fame. They help put they put the event together, and they help us find an opponent of West Virginia's caliber that's willing to come in there and play us. And it's a great partnership to have with our neighbors to the south there in Springfield with the Hall of Fame. And obviously Springfield's been a very good city to UMass basketball, and I think it's a great time of year. Students are gone to go down and play a game in that venue, and you get around UMass folks, and they all talk about the great games that were played in that building. Yeah. And so it's awesome to be able to, maybe beating West Virginia wasn't the equivalent of beating Arkansas when they're number one in the country, but still, it's a heck of a win for our team, our program, and in that venue in the great city of Springfield.
And there really wasn't a lot of turnaround time for your team, because then the next day you got to get ready to go to Hawaii. You guys left, I think, on Monday morning. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, I know it's not about you. You say that a lot, but when we walked into the Stan Sheriff Center at University of Hawaii, the folks there came over and they just said, man, we love having Frank Martin back in this tournament. We love having him. And I think that's indicative. I had several people come over to me and say, hey, tell Frank I said hi. And then they walked away without telling me who they were. So people said hello to you significantly. I think that goes to show, you've made an impact there at the Diamond Head Classic of bringing your teams there a few times.
Well, it's the folks there are so hospitable and so welcoming of the teams that come be a part of that event. You as a human being, you appreciate kind people. It's anyone that's a human being and doesn't appreciate kind people, that person has issues. And the folks that are so kind. Our host Sheldon Nagata, who's he's been the host of my team every year I've been there. That was my third time. He's just goes out of his way to serve. And I think everyone in our organization sees that and feels that. And but it's a credit to, again, assistants, staff, players, the way they act, the way they go about their business, how they treat the people that they come across. As a head coach, you get a lot of credit and a lot of blame. And the majority of it is not just for things you do, but the way your organization represents itself. And I'm extremely thankful for the teams we've had and the staff we've had, the times we've been there, the way we've gone about our business. We won it in 11. Then we went back with South Carolina. I was at K-State, went back with South Carolina in 13. And we had a team like our team now, all freshmen. We went 2-1, won the first game, beat St. Mary's, got absolutely boat raced by Boise State, who was really, really good, and then came back and beat Akron the last game to finish in third. But it was awesome to be back there. Now the flight, woo! You know, Jay, at that 12 hours going that way was long, and then the little less than 10 coming back because it was a red eye. So, you know, you leave there late in the afternoon. I think it was about 4 o'clock when we left Hawaii time, and land in Boston at 6 a.m. That was hard. That was, you know, and then drive to Amherst at 7 a.m. once you got your bags. And I didn't
takes
sleep
a lot out of you.
Yeah, I didn't sleep a wink on the plane on the way back.
You know, Caribbean's a lot closer, just saying, you know.
I love Sheldon and I love that tournament and the people of Hawaii. It's just on the way back, it threw me for a loop. Today's the first day that I'm like, I feel balanced again. That's what I used to do. Go to bed at 6 a.m. and wake up at 2 p.m. But it's not used to that. I'm too old for that stuff. I need my beauty sleep, Jay.
Well, the good news is that last game when you obliterated Old Dominion, you were able to. We played it in a reasonable time on the East Coast. That was the 10 a.m. game or 10:30 game on the final day of the tournament. But let's go back to that first game, 73-70, a loss to Georgia Tech. Felt like you guys really had controlled that game for quite some time. And for those that weren't following closely, you had said after the game, hey, look, you know, we need to make sure this one loss doesn't turn into two. You were able to do that. And we need to get more production out of guys coming off the bench. I think you were able to do that in the next 2 games. Just reminisce a little bit about, you know, how that first game didn't quite get to the finish line for you guys.
Yeah, we came out like gangbusters to start the game. I thought we played fairly well the first 15 minutes of the game. And then we had a bad patch the last 5 minutes. Our bench was not very good for us that game, and that doesn't mean I'm blaming the bench. That just means they weren't very good. Just like I have days where I'm not very good on the sideline. It's just part of the deal. We came into halftime and we regrouped. We spoke about some things. And then we went out in the second half and came out like gangbusters again and took total control of the game. If we had made some free throws, instead of being up 8 or 9, we're probably up, 14, 15, 16. And that makes a huge difference because when you play good teams, they're not going like away saying, you got it. They're going to make a push. They're coming. And when they made their push, it made it a 1-possession game. And then we had two issues late in the game that as a coach, you're trying to manage it a certain way as you're coming down the stretch of the game. However, it was completely different situations than what I was managing. And one was the score, which with the goaltending, you got in the back of your mind, like, it could be 2, it could be 4, and your could be 4, can be 6. The lead I'm talking about. And
okay, let me just re-adjudicate this for those that weren't paying attention. I think your team was up 6 because there was a basket interference call where Georgia Tech had made an infraction. So your team was awarded 2 points. And the new rules are that's a correctable error. So at the next media timeout, the officials can go back and make sure they made the right call. Well, it turns out they didn't make the correct call initially. And I think that deprived your team of being able to get an offensive rebound on that shot. And then in turn, they took those 2 points that had been given to you. Several minutes had gone by. I'm looking at the box score right now, trying to figure out exactly how much time had gone by, but it was quite a significant stretch. So instead of being up 6, you were up 4 late in the game. And I think just 2 things. The refs got it right, the call, but they got it wrong initially, but they adjudicated it correctly. It just certainly it seems like a flaw in the rule because it deprived your squad of a chance to get an offensive rebound.
It was properly officiated.
Right.
The officials are being told any close goaltending play, call it goaltending. because then they can go back and correct it. If, for example, they had not called anything and it was goaltending, they cannot correct it.
Right.
So it was properly, the way the officials are being asked to officiate that play, it was properly officiated. But you're, as a coach, you're trying to manage a 2-possession lead or a 1-possession lead. It's like you're not sure what you're doing, and it doesn't mean it changes things drastically, but it's a different mindset also in the minds of a player. Yeah. And but bottom line, we whether there was a goaltend, wasn't a goaltend, the other play, which is the one that actually hurt us, is they called a foul and put it on Matt Cross. And then he picks up shortly after his 4th foul, bang, bang. So I got to take him out of the game. They couldn't review the 3rd foul until like 3 minutes later. They come back 3 minutes later and they say, hey, the foul was not on him. It was on someone else. So that means that we played in a really, really physical game,
right,
without our most physical player, for the crucial stretch of the game where they were making a push without Matt, because we thought he had 4 fouls and instead he only had 3. That's the one that I'm not saying it was poorly officiated. I think it was handled the way the rule is written, but that one created a problem for us, from a managing the game standpoint. And you've got a lead and you're fighting against a team that's scarred and they're coming at you, and it's late in the game. I need my best guy on the court to deal with those moments, and but we didn't. And then with all those things, Jay, coming down the stretch, Rasul's got 2 wide open threes. He misses both. Keon has a point blank layup and he misses a layup. Matt Cross, we run a play. He does a great job, and their defender blocked the shot. Give him credit. And then we ran another play, and somebody made a pass to Josh. I can't remember who it was. It was a heck of a play. And Josh has a point blank layup, and their center comes out of nowhere and blocks his shot. Now, Josh ended up in the 3rd row. Foul, no foul. It is what it is. But we had offensive opportunities to convert by the right guys in the right areas, and we couldn't convert. And that's what hurt us coming down the stretch. Was offensively we hit a wall. We couldn't score, and then that lack of free throw making during the course of the game showed its head.
And you guys certainly had control of that game. You had an 11-point lead multiple times in the second half. But, you and I talked about this afterwards. Those types of games help you prepare for what's in store in the A-10 schedule, which is coming up here rapidly.
Yeah, when you have an 11-point lead against an inferior opponent and lose it, it's disheartening. When you have an 11-point lead against a good team and lose it, it's frustrating. It's 2 different emotions. But with those kind of opponents like Georgia Tech, they're not going away. Their firepower is too good. They're not going away. And you don't beat Duke by mistake. You don't beat Mississippi State, who has one of the oldest rosters in college basketball. You don't beat them by mistake, and I knew they were going to make a push, and unfortunately we couldn't make enough shots coming down the stretch. We just needed one more basket, and everything would have been a little different. And we got the opportunities, we didn't make them. But here's my opinion, which at the end of that game, I didn't know this. Our guys gained confidence because of that game. Sometimes when they put a trophy on a table and they say, there it is, go figure out a way to win it, and you don't win it, it's disheartening. And it kind of messes up your spirit a little bit, because you go there for a purpose to win that trophy. But once you remove yourself from that tournament, you're still in the middle of the season. You got to, as a coach, you step back and you're like, okay, we didn't get the trophy. That hurts. What's the next thing? Did we get better? And my opinion is we got better. We became a more confident basketball team because playing West Virginia and the ebbs and flows of that game, how that game flowed, to be able to win that game. If you think about West Virginia and Georgia Tech, very similar. Very similar. Yep. Like the difference was Josh makes that duck-in play against West Virginia for a three-point play. At Georgia Tech, they block it. In
that Tech and the West Virginia game, I mean, they were fouling. There was 2 minutes to go trying to extend the game. And you guys, I mean, Diggins, the whole crew, everyone made the free throws down the stretch. I thought that was an impressive statement.
Yeah, no, that's where I was going. That we were able to convert offensive possessions into points coming down the stretch of West Virginia, where Georgia Tech, we hit the ball. And I think part of it is that because this is my opinion, I've not talked to our team about this. I made some decisions in the second half based on the fact our bench had not played well, to play starters extended minutes. And I think some of the guys were a little tired. But here's another thing. These are you think about the Harvard game. We make a three with a minute to go, and their point guard makes makes a bomb to tie the game. Yep. Georgia Tech, Matt Cross makes a three deep in the game. I don't remember how much time was left, but it's deep in the game. And their point guard, who had made 1 3 all year, comes down and sticks a three like this is what I do to retie the game. And that's the journey of a season, a coach, the emotions that go into everything that takes place. It's sometimes the breaks go your way and sometimes they don't.
3 very good games. By the way, had UMass won that first game against Georgia Tech, you were looking at taking on Hawaii with a beehive of a building there. Hawaii played Georgia Tech the next day and were down 22 points, and they came back in the second half to take the lead briefly. I mean, that environment is great for that home team.
Absolutely. Yeah. That if you're in that tournament, you don't look to see who you're matched up with. You look to see if Hawaii's on your side of the bracket, because if they are, you got a problem. And but it's and Aaron, their coach, he's a longtime assistant there to Riley Wallace, who Coach Wallace who's a legend in our business. He was at the event. He lives in Illinois now, and he's getting older, but he traveled back to Hawaii, and he was there for the event. And Aaron and Jamie Dixon, the coach at TCU, they were both his assistants. And Aaron went on to St. Mary's, and now he's been back to Hawaii as the head coach, and very successful. And that's when you go to that event, playing Hawaii is not. That's not the one you wanted.
They had won it. They won it last year. Came away with, I think, a win in this one too. So anyway, so you said after the game against Georgia Tech, heading into the 22nd and then into Christmas Eve, you said, let's not make this one loss that really hurts and frustrates into 2 losses. And then you come away and you blow out Portland 178. You take down Old Dominion 87-65. And I said this to you after the last broadcast. I said, Coach, it is not easy to win these games, let alone by 20, regardless of the opponent. And I think your team responded very well after that first tough loss.
Yeah. We're going through it for the first time. I don't really, I got Matt, Rasul, and Keon as guys that I've been through it with, and the rest of the guys, I'm going through it for the first time with them. I don't know how they're going to handle certain things, and if I had an older team that'd been through it, I probably don't even worry about that, letting one bad day become 2, because older teams figure that out. But with so many young guys, you don't know what you're going to get. day to day to day from how they handle experiences. And our guys, this team, Jay, you're around. You watch them. You not only do you watch them on game day, you watch them at practice. You interact with them at hotels. You see the way they go about their business. These guys genuinely care. They don't just show up to play. They genuinely care. They're trying their darnest to re-elevate this program, and it's important to them. The name on the front of the jersey means a lot to these guys. It's not just the name on the back of their jerseys that they care about. Excuse me. And when you have an opportunity to go play Georgia Tech in the first round, which we knew was a quality opponent. It's not just that it's an ACC school, which is a great opportunity for us at UMass or an Atlantic 10 school, but they're also I think, a really good ACC team. And you go play them, and you control the game, and self-inflicted wounds get you beat, and a couple of little things you don't control, like the calls we were talking about, not the calls, but the I don't even know how to word it. The officiating, the rule book. It's not officials. It was the way the rule book's written that impacted the decisions of the game. It's disheartening. And my whole thing is, I know Portland is a hard playing defensive-minded team that we did not need to. And they had lost a heartbreaker to Hawaii the night before in the first round. And so we had to, and then you also worry as a coach, this is the truth, with young players, that Georgia Tech, Portland, our guys know who Georgia Tech is. Majority of them don't know who Portland is. So there's a respect factor of the opponent with young players that does exist, which when it's not a name brand, they tend to think it's easy. So I needed to make sure that all those things were in place, and give our guys credit, man. They handled themselves like champs, and like you said earlier, our bench in Game 2 was better than Game 1, and in Game 3 they were even better than they were in Game 2. So it's our guys answered the bell.
There's so many moments in this tournament that stand out to me. Of course, Josh Cohen being an all-tournament player, back-to-back 28-point games, had the perfect game, didn't miss a shot against Portland. Jaden Jingay, who set a career high one night with 11 points, then came back 13 points the next night. But one guy you and I talked about, and Keon Thompson, just really able to control the tempo of the game. But Rasul Diggins in that Portland game, it got to about a 6-point contest, second half, about 10 minutes to go, and there are moments that you and I talked about in post game that really, I think, stood out, where he set the tempo, slowed things down, really showed that he can be that, elder guard on this team and be a heady player down the stretch of a game. Just give us your thoughts on what you saw from Rasul in Portland in the ODU game.
Yeah, he's fully invested in being a good player. He's fully invested in helping our team win. That didn't start, Harvard game or whatever. That was back late spring and the whole summer. The amount of time that he's put in to earn the right to be a good player, to earn the right to be a guy that takes ownership on the court. That's I'm really happy for Rasul, because he and I had a lot of heart-to-hearts when last season ended, and last season was hard on him. We've talked about this ad nauseum, and I'm not going to be repetitive, but since his high school career ended until the beginning of this year, he's had a lot of ups and downs. Majority of them are self-inflicted. He's in the best place he's been at since he's been in college mentally, with his daily approach and his enthusiasm for competing. Last year, think about what you were saying about the West Virginia game. If I had told you last year that coming down the stretch, Rasul Diggins was going to be at the foul line, shooting free throws to help us win a game, you and everyone else in the building would probably just got in the car and left. I think he shot like 25% or something from the foul line last year.
It was not that low, but it wasn't great.
He was like 2 for 23 at one time in the season or something like that. Like, it was really bad. I don't remember, but it was really bad. Now he's shooting 80% from the line. That gives you the perfect snapshot of his mindset. He's a much confident young man, much confident player. He believes in what we do, how we do it, and he's excited to be a part of it every day.
I just looked it up. He was 9 of 25 from the line last year. That's 36%. 26 of 30 this season, 87%. And to your point, I think it was 7 for 7 in that West Virginia game down the stretch. And there were just moments, even when he wasn't scoring the basketball, that I think stood out for me in the Portland and Old Dominion game that made the team better. And that allowed you guys to pull away the last 6-7 minutes against the Portland squad.
Oh, absolutely. Defensively, he's playing with a toughness, a discipline, a voice. Last year, he was just on the court because I told him to be on the court. He had no interest on being committed to doing his job on the court. And this year's a complete opposite. This year, he is fully committed to all his responsibilities and elevating the people around him. And like I said when we started talking today, the fact that our team plays every time we take the court with a consistent personality has a lot to do with Rasul, Matt Cross, Keon Thompson. Those three guys. Those three guys are old guys as far as who we are. And they've done an incredible job of buying in and leading to help guys. You know, Josh Cohen has really helped our team, not just with his scoring, but he's got a special spirit about him that it makes people feel good. And but those guys have helped Josh because they stay on Josh, and because of their competitiveness defensively and offensively, it's helping Josh become a better player. So that's the stuff. That's why I coach. I don't coach for anyone to ever say, well, Frank's won so many games, or Frank belongs here, or Frank did this, or Final Four. All that's a byproduct of watching what I'm watching with this team right now, which is guys that don't know each other, connecting, respecting each other, growing by understanding one another, and then representing a common uniform and figuring out a way to succeed. And that's what I do this for. And I'm starting to see it with this team right now.
Finally, Coach, one of the growth moments that you just mentioned, maybe off the court, this team being able to kind of gel on the road in the Diamond Head Classic in Honolulu, and then you took them to Pearl Harbor. I know that wasn't your first time at the site. What did that mean for you, and what was the reaction from your team when they were able to make that visit?
Yeah, I think our players enjoyed it. I haven't had a chance to sit down and create a conversation about Pearl Harbor with the guys. I joked with Matok because he just had an American history course this past semester. And so he came in to say, hey, I passed this class with this grade, this class, and he said American history. This is before we left on the trip. I said, really? I said, what did you learn about Pearl Harbor? And he was like, I said, well, you're going to learn about Pearl Harbor when we get ready to go. And I think you and I were speaking at the hotel, and one thing, like for me, the first time I went, this is why I like taking my teams to Pearl Harbor so they can live it. I'm a inner city son of immigrants from 1960 my family didn't live here during World War II or some of the good and bad that we had around here before then. So that history to me, I was too young to really embrace it and feel it and understand it. But I know it's a big part of what this country is about, and the unity that was created from that moment. And the first time I went, and you're actually there,
Yep.
you're like, wow, like holy cow, these people were just here. They weren't bothering anybody, and all of a sudden they just got attacked, and it just it's a powerful place. It gives you a different feel than just reading something in a book. Actually being there and kind of experiencing the environment and realizing, like, man, like when they're explaining to you and you're on the Missouri right there and the Arizona, excuse me, and the remains of it, I should say, on the monument right there, and they're explaining to you how the two-man submarines were coming in to try and attack the harbor, and the way the planes came in through the valley, because they attacked kind of the northeastern, I think, part of the island first, and then they came through the valley between the mountains to come bomb, and you kind of sense, like, holy cow, you're actually cornered when you're in that harbor. You're cornered the way those Japanese people attacked, and it's kind of, and then to stand there and know that ship is now the tomb for 1,100 or so soldiers. It's powerful, man. And I think our players enjoyed it. Eventually, I'll get in a conversation with them to see what they took from it. But I know it's a powerful experience.
It sure is, and we'll just we'll leave it there, Coach. Thanks for the trip to Diamond Head and the Diamond Head Classic. We appreciate it. I know you said you couldn't take credit for that, right? That was that built in before you got? No, that was.
I can't. That contract was signed before I got hired.
Took over. Thank you, Ryan Bamford. And good luck against Siena tomorrow, Coach. We'll talk to you in the new year.
Hey, by the way, I was going to call you Christopher Columbus. When we were leaving the island, because you did some exploring there, big fella.
I was all over the island of Hawaii. Got to take advantage of your time there. So able to see a lot. So it was a lot of fun. Coach, thanks so much. And we'll talk to you down the line. Have a happy new year.
Same your way into everybody, Jay.
All right. He is head coach Frank Martin. He's just being frank. This has been brought to you by our good friends at the Massachusetts Collective. Be a part of UMass men's and women's basketball by being part of the UMass Collective. Until next time, my name's Jay Burnham saying so long from Amherst.